Been out in Vegas, but heard James DeGale has been whistling my name back home. Once I've secured WBA, I'll happily knock some teeth out. As you can see on screen, that was a tweet by George Groves a couple of days ago, talking about the prospect of a rematch with James DeGale. And just like Chris Eubank Jr., he's kind of taking a piss there out of James DeGale losing a tooth or some teeth in the Badou Jack fight. I would certainly love to see the James DeGale George Groves rematch. James DeGale would like to have the fight next. He thinks George Groves should forget about the WBA. But as you can see here, George Groves, some would say sensibly, is declining that offer and saying, no, I'm going to get the WBA first, then I'll fight James DeGale. It is a gamble at the end of the day, because George Groves did intend to beat Badou Jack, take his belt, and then go. Who did Badou Jack beat for the belt? Was it? Yeah, he was already champion when he fought George Groves, I think. He beat Anthony Durrell, was it for the vacant belt? And then he fought George Groves. Anyway, George Groves' original idea was to go. I think he had the opportunity to fight James DeGale, but he decided to try and beat Badou Jack first, get a belt, and then go back to James DeGale and have a unification. So he's been in this position before and he failed. Will he fail this time around against Chudinov? Will he be kicking himself for not taking the opportunity to fight James DeGale right now if he loses to Chudinov? I personally think Chudinov is actually a bit underrated. I do think he's a good fighter. He's technically very good. I've said before, he reminds me of kind of a miniature Vladimir Klitschko. He don't have the punching power pound for pound of a Klitschko, but skill-wise similar, and technique-wise a lot of similarities between him and Vladimir Klitschko. The way he stands, the way he jabs, he's got a very strong jab. I like his jab. So yeah, I think he's maybe a bit underrated. And we also have to factor in that George Groves is coming off a fight with Edward Goodnecht, in which Goodnecht suffered serious brain injury. And quite disturbingly, we haven't heard any updates about the condition of Goodnecht since then. I certainly haven't. And I've been looking online for quite a while on some updates about the guy. Maybe haven't looked in the past couple of weeks, but I was looking for, a couple of weeks after the incident happened, and there was very, very little information. I'd heard that Goodnecht was still in a coma, and the longer somebody's in a coma after suffering that type of injury, the worse it usually is once they wake up from the coma in terms of long-term injury. So we don't know how that's going to affect George Groves psychologically, knowing that he's hurt somebody like that, because different fighters react differently to being in that type of situation. If you remember when Mike Perez had his fight with Magomed Abdusalamov, Perez was a shell of himself in his fight after that. I think he fought Carlos Takam, and he just looked like a ghost in there. He just looked distracted and not himself at all. And some would say the residual effect, the psychological effect of the Magomed Abdusalamov fight is still lingering with Mike Perez. Not only in the Takam fight, but fights after that, some would say. So he's an example of a fighter who struggled with hurting somebody like that. Also, Chris Eubank Sr. was another guy when he hurt Michael Watson in their rematch. A lot of people, commentators, boxing pundits, and even the general public at the time were saying that Eubank Sr. lost his killer instinct after that Michael Watson fight. And he even admitted that he did. There were several fights where he would hurt a guy, he would have the guy gone, and he wouldn't go in to finish. He'd call the referee in because he was worried about hurting somebody again. Like seriously hurting somebody, giving him brain damage like he did to Michael Watson. Then again, you get other fighters out there like your Sugar Ray Robinsons and right up until the current day, people like Sergey Kovalev who actually kill people in the ring but don't seem to be affected by it at all in terms of their performances. They may think about it, it may play on their mind, but once they get into the ring, it's business as usual and they're not holding anything back. So, I mean, Eubank Jr. may be an example of somebody who's not holding back since he hurt Nick Blackwell. So we have to see how George Groves reacts to all this. Will it affect his performance against Chudinov? Because a lot of people are looking at the Chudinov fight as a foregone conclusion, which I certainly don't think it is, particularly, as I say, under these set of circumstances. So just some food for thought for you guys there. George Groves was going well up until the Goodneck fight, and even in the Goodneck fight, I think he's been improving and getting his old bounce in his step and his swagger back like the old George Groves, which I used to really like watching. I hope this Goodneck fight, the aftermath of this Goodneck fight, hasn't knocked George Groves back, you know. But I guess we'll see. So let me know what you think. Should he take the James DeGale rematch now? It's been offered to him. Or should he gamble again, just like he tried to do in the Badou Jack fight, and get a title and then go back to James DeGale as an equal, as somebody who also has a world championship, and maybe split the pot 50-50? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.